And here we are, Tilson Live, another time, another custom plan, a new guest on the Tilson Live. But before we get going, I am Eric Allard, Senior Vice President of Business Development for Tilson Homes, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family. So grateful you guys are joining us today. We are joined, as we are every week, by the one and only Director of Marketing for Tilson Homes, the Dawn Dantzler. Hello, Dawn.
Hi, everybody.
I refuse to do the same intro over and over. We're going to get it down one day and have like a solid scripted intro. I don't like scripts. But anyway, you guys
stop watching.
Exactly. Hop in, tell us where you're watching from. We're really excited to see and hear from everybody. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube. Of course, this will be posted later to all of our social channels where you can come in and see it. But let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're watching from. We are going to answer all your questions about building on your lot. But first, we got to introduce our guest this week. We are joined for the first time by one of our sales consultants at our Bryan Design Center, Bryan, by gosh, Texas, Mr. Ross Riggs. Welcome, Ross.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So Ross, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you grew up, and how long you've been with Tilson, and knowing that sales has not been your only gig here at this company, has it?
No, it has not. So
right,
I'm native Texan, born and raised, grew up down in South Texas, Corpus Christi, and then spent most of my time in the Houston area, and then did a brief stint for Tilson up in the North Texas region where I did stakeout. So I did stakeout for about 5.5 years. So I used to be the one that would be meeting you with your floor plan at your property to put all the corners on the ground.
Yep.
After driving several thousand miles a week for several years, I decided to come sit in an office and then start designing and selling them. So I'm just shy of 8 years with Tilson. May will be my 8 years here, and love it here. So,
well, that's right. Yep. So Ross has some special insight as a sales consultant for you guys. You got any questions about your site evaluation, stakeout? I know he's been out of the game for like 2.5 years, but it's kind of like riding a bike, or in this case, a Tilson pickup truck. You kind of don't ever forget. But anyway, so there's Mark from Guten Tag from Augsburg. He's here from Germany again. Someone from Bryan. Well, Lupe, just head over to the office. You can sit there with Ross. You can join us.
Yeah, you can be on screen.
Just up on there. And there's another connection I would be remiss to mention with the Riggs family, and that is, did we build for anybody you know, Ross? We built a house for
just maybe my parents built back in 2012. So
that's right. That's
right before I started working for Tilson, they finished my parents' home, and then about a week and a half later, I started. So
That's
trade.
Awesome.
Fair trade. So yeah, they built the Bridgeport with the San Jacinto kitchen out of our Spring Design Center. So anyway, great people, known Tim and Jeannie for a long, long time, and real sweet to my family, and love them very much. So anyway, all that to say, what are we talking about today, Dawn? What are we doing?
We are going to talk about one of our most requested plans, the Preston.
The Preston floor plan. I cannot wait. A little bit of a special place in my heart for the Preston. I did in fact build one of these many, many, many years ago for my sweet family. So I'll have some interjections going on here, Ross, as you're rolling through it for us. But some customizations that the Allards may or may not have done to this plan back in the day. This was anyway. We weren't allowed to make as many changes back then. Because my dad, Keith Allard, was checking the files in, and you weren't going to sit here and just customize this thing to death like we do now. So. Different time. That's okay. We're all past all that. But anyway, good times. I'm really looking forward to this. There's some beautiful pictures that Dawn and her team have put together in this. We do get a lot of requests about this plan. It actually goes way, way back. It was actually there was a Blanco model home in Bernie once upon a time, and this is kind of a big boy, big brother version of the Blanco old floor plan.
Oh, okay.
So this one survived. The Blanco did not, because the Preston's just a great selling, great design, very versatile plan. So Ross, tell us a bit about the customer, kind of where they were moving from, where they were moving to, what it was that drew them to this particular floor plan.
So as far as the Thomasons is who built the home, they were located just to the east of Dallas, and then they've had family land down here in South College Station, and they were looking to get back down this way part of the story is their uncle is who had the land, and then he gifted it over to our customers, the Thomasons, and their daughter actually lives out there as well. And really what it was is they wanted to build a house out there for them to enjoy, but also to bring uncle back with them from Montana to live in the house as well. So part of when we started going through the design, there's specific aspects we did with him in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
So as when we get into that, we'll see that and kind of what we did for them and how we laid out and changed some rooms up. But as far as it's mainly to get back to where they grew up, where the family land's been, and just kind of just keeping family connected. So
family land, we hear that a lot. So folks, if you're thinking about either deeding land to family members or you're getting land deeded to you, that's something we do specialize in. I will say probably you said east of Dallas is where they ended up building somewhere. Okay,
oh no, that's where they were from, and then
moved to College Station. Yeah, I was like, this is Brazos County if it was not. Okay.
Yeah.
See, what got me confused was last week Brazos County looked a lot like Montana, so it was very confusing to see the rolling fields in the Brazos Valley filled with snow. It's just not normally a thing. So, all right, well, talk to us a little bit about the Preston floor plan, this particular elevation. What are we looking at here? And then I'll click to the floor plan next, Ross.
Okay. So like we're showing here, what we opted to use was the Preston C. So we have the gable roof. The gable roof ends there at the sides. They have that nice large front porch going across, which when we look at it, that's across the formal dining and the initial study. And when we look at ours, you'll see we made a few changes there, but we have those dormers up above just for that kind of farmhouse country style older look. Initially what you're seeing here, what it comes with, you've got full face front brick across the front and down both sides. And then we've got especially underneath that front porch, we've got some extra windows that are up there. So you've got those double windows, you've got the fixed windows up above, you've got those side lights to the front door. So you've got some of that natural light coming in. And if you've got a view out the front, you've got a lot of windows there that you can look to and see what you've got there at the property.
For sure. The other thing, folks, we get a lot of questions about this is one of those plans, kind of like the San Jacinto, one or two others, that is symmetrical across the front. So this is kind of one of those that when you start messing with one side of the house or the other, you got to keep that in mind. Or if symmetry is an important feature to you, the Preston's a great plan to consider because it does start out as pretty much a perfectly symmetrical plan. So what is it about the floor plan that attracts people? And Dawn, chime in on this because you get the request online, but Ross, what's the deal with this plan?
So one of the things is for the size house it is, the number of rooms and the flexibility you have just in the base footprint, it's there. I mean, you've got already a 4-bedroom house, 2.5 bath. You've got a study extra room. You've got a formal dining room. Sure. You've also got that split across. You've got that master bedroom on one side. You've got your guest rooms on the far side. You've got your kitchen, your breakfast, your family room, all there in the middle, kind of splitting the house apart. Also, where the utility room is located, you've got a very large utility room, lots of space there. It's also close to an outside wall where garages or moving things around or having an outside walkout door at that utility space. Very popular, very common thing that we changed up in that spot. Also has a walk-in pantry, another big thing that people are looking for in their kitchen that I get asked for. And it does have a little bit of back porch, so you do have that front and back porch aspect to it as well.
Yeah, it's just really versatile. You can use that study or that dining room if you're needing that, schooling from home space or home officing or whatever you need. It's good for that. I personally also like the secondary bath on this one. If you've got kids, you have 2 sink areas that are separated, got a little distance from each other, keeps the peace.
You know what I liked about it? It has a door, and then my room was 80 feet 8 inches away. So if they did break out in a fight, not my problem.
Who knows?
Didn't hear it. Nope. No intercom system, no nothing. And if it spilled out into here, we got problems. But yeah, it's great design. Like I said, the utility room for us, when we were living there, made it, just really, really handy. Tons of space for living out on acreage. We were constantly going through muddy boots and had, enough room for a freezer. And it was just really, really, and actually, I think this plan did it too, but in mine, we moved the water heater out into the garage, which made even more space in the utility room. So very, very cool plan. Guys, ask your questions in the chat. I forgot to say it. Someone's supposed to poke me or electrocute me or something.
I'm sorry.
ask your questions in the chat. You know, I like bright, shiny objects. We would love to see where we got people from Manor, from Santa Fe, Mico, Young County, Killeen. This is awesome. Post your questions there. We are going to stop in a couple different areas and answer all your questions about building on your land, site evaluations. You know, what you should look for when you're looking for a piece of property, customizations, financing, anything you can think of that has to do with building a custom home on your property. We want to help you out with that. And again, whether you build with us or not, these are things you're going to need to know.
Absolutely.
So let's roll through that. All right. So what did they do to it, Ross? Obviously, we encourage our customers to make it their own. What have we done?
So we'll kind of start on the outside, work our way in. Or as far as we'll start with the numbers, keep it simple. So initially, like I said at the very beginning, when we looked at the outside elevation, we had brick on the front and the sides. Well, we actually added brick across the rear. So we took off all the siding on the back. We did a full brick face all the way across the back. So we've got brick on all four sides going all the way around the house. The next thing we ended up doing is in that family room, we took out a window, and then we put in that fireplace. That's a wood-burning fireplace. And then we resized the windows to the left and right and make them just a little bit bigger to take up that space so we still get that natural light, that view out the back, looking out to the back of the property. So and then inside, we'll see here in a little bit when we'll look at that fireplace, we did put matching brick from the outside on it going all the way up in the ceiling. So you're going to have that kind of pulling that element in to tie it all together. So that is a brick bar, full brick face going up to the ceiling. As we kind of come around, due to the nature that we did a third full bathroom over where we created, and we'll get to that in a minute, we put in a second water heater to handle that demand for all the hot water. So we put in the second water heater that we needed to, and then we put those in the garage. So like Eric just mentioned about taking that water heater out of the utility room and putting it in the garage, getting more space in the utility room. We did the same thing here, but there's ended up being two water heaters there in the garage. We also added a garage based on the way the property and how it was going to sit on their acreage. We went with the front access, front door garage instead of a side. As far as symmetry, it's a little now not symmetrical, but we definitely wanted the garage there. With the way the driveway approaches, keeping it straight and simple, we added the garage right there. So we added a two-car garage with a nice 16-foot wide door there for the access as they'd come into the home. Here, what we did a little few changes on the inside as well. So originally, kind of where you've got those two arrows pointing, where his pointer is at right now, there used to be cabinets there, and then we moved them over at the old access because that used to be a formal dining that now reads bedroom 2. When we'll get to that in a second, what we changed there, but we moved the cabinets around to create a more direct access from the utility room into the kitchen. So it's a little bit closer. So if you have those groceries, you're coming in from the car, from the garage, you're getting to that kitchen a little bit quicker. You're not having to go into the dining room and then in.
Yeah, that actually, we had somebody ask that question over on YouTube, if there was a way to change the entry to go straight from the utility room into the kitchen. So this is a good way to do that.
It could definitely be created. It's a little tough just with that master bedroom closet. There you'd have to look at a little bit of space there, but we could definitely create something like that, or where it's a little closer, being more direct. Without losing,
but I think this is a good way to do that too.
Yeah,
we kept all the same amount of cabinets in this change. We didn't lose anything. We just moved what was there. Sure. And we'll see a picture of kind of what that'll look like once we moved it, what that opening was. But that's something we did do to get that access a little bit closer as you would come into the utility room into that kitchen space. So number 6, what we're doing is, so that used to be a formal dining room. And like I talked about earlier, the intent and purpose of them moving back to the property in College Station was to bring Uncle with him. He wanted to get out of that northern cold. He wanted to come back to kind of where he's at. So we took that formal dining room and made it into his own bedroom. So this bedroom 2 is designed and intent and purpose for their uncle. So what we ended up doing is there was a half bathroom. We actually added a full walk-in shower to it. So we did make that bathroom a little bit bigger. So it did eat up a little bit of the utility room, but we did put that big shower in there for him for accessibility. And that's what they wanted, was a shower. We also created 2 accesses to the bedroom, one from the utility room in the event that as time goes by, he is a little older. If they needed quicker access, if he's riding in the car, he can go straight to his room. He doesn't have to go far around through the kitchen and breakfast room, he can go right into his bedroom. Or if he was out on the front porch enjoying the property, he can come straight inside and go into his room that way. So he doesn't have to make a long pass around. He can get to his room pretty directly. So that was one of the two big things that, as we talked about designing this home, one of the two key points that was one of our focal points of designing it was his room and his space, because he's the one that gave the property to them and he was going to come live with them. So definitely kept him in mind in that spot of the home.
Yeah.
As we move over, over here, we used to have a bedroom and a study. Mr. Thomason is a Methodist preacher, and so he wanted his library study in his home. That was his only ask. Everything else, Thomason could pick and choose, and we could have design what we wanted, but this was his ask, was this space here. So we took out the middle wall between bedroom 2 and the study, and we opened it all up. We put in a long row of standing bookcases across the back for his books and kind of creating that library aspect of it. And then there's going to be desks and things. So as he's there, or if he has friends over or someone to talk to, he's got a big space that he can have somebody there inside in his kind of library study area. We did end up resizing a hall closet, keeping a hall closet over by bedroom 4, because when we added those bookcases, we need to make sure they're all straight and in a line. So we did move the hall closet right there by bedroom 4. So we still kept that hall storage. And then kind of the last thing we did change up is over at bathroom 2. We did take out the door in the middle, so it's more open. You don't have that shut door that where you don't have to worry about someone being locked all the way in there. You just got the main door coming in and out.
Right.
Just kind of opened it up a little bit more, so if anybody needed any assistance to get in, you've got a little bit more space for any type of access. But those are some of our main key points of what we did and why we decided to do what we did for their Preston.
Yeah, and looking at that, and going back to the question about the dining room, obviously we had it, and the one I did as a dining room, and when it is, if I go, I think it's 15 feet. It is, yeah. It's so to the person that asked on YouTube about walking, don't have to walk through the dining room. I'll tell you, we had a 10-person table in here. And with the depth of it being 15 feet, I never really noticed we were walking through the dining room to get around to the kitchen. Pretty similar to the Fredericksburg layout as well. But as you pointed out, we could easily make the entrance, through here instead, kind of slide this down like Ross did, have a very easy entrance to get in to there. So that's well pointed out. Yeah, this is spectacular over here. We got some pictures of that a little bit later. So. Let's move on and see what this thing actually ended up looking like, Ross. What do we got going?
So like the Preston C is, the front we left the same. I mean, as far as this is the brick they chose. With the outside of the homes, you do have several paint choices you could use. We ended up staying with one singular paint color for the outside. They did a white, so the columns were painted white. Their window trim, their dormers up above. We all stayed in that kind of that white, just to kind of give it that more classic look that they were going for. Mr. Thomason wanted a little bit more of a red brick, but with some characterization to it. Didn't want it bright red. So we've got that more of that, not necessarily just a red brick, but we've got more of we've got some reds, orange, browns in it to kind of what they were wanting.
A little bit of warmth.
And nice. There's of course that garage we added on the right, that front load garage that we definitely wanted there. So otherwise, it would have been symmetrical, like Eric had said at the beginning. But like I said, with that little bump out over, we're a lot longer now with that extra garage, but still keeping those gable roof in, still keeping it same as it goes across.
Yeah, I noticed about the windows too. They took out the divided lights.
They didn't want any of those. The divided lights are kind of like the panes that you see in between. They wanted to have as much natural light, nothing obscuring their view. So we took all of those off so they could see through their windows.
Beautiful. Tell us what we're looking at here there, Mr. Ross.
So here, what we've got here, so from kind of starting from our left, working our way across. So the far left, of course, we've got our little AC unit, our pad. We've got just kind of, as you could see, a septic would be installed, you've got a septic pump to your aerobic system. That corner there, that's where that guest bathroom, that bathroom 2 at the very far end of the house where you have that double sink, the tub shower, that's all on an outside wall. There's no windows there, so no light. I mean, you could have a window, but we didn't put any windows in. We took them out. We kept them out we didn't need any extra natural light in that bathroom. It's not one of the main bathrooms that they're going to be in every day. That first window is going to be that far side of the library study, but in keeping it balanced across with the single window in the utility room, we didn't make a second window. We left it a singular window there, keeping that symmetry and balance across the front. Underneath the front porch, those double windows there, that is going to be the bigger part, main part of the study library.
So this is all one room. Is that
yes. There is, when we look at the inside, I will say something that is part of how this house is built. There is 2 different ceilings in there, just based on the way the plan is built. But that is all one room between those 3 windows that we're looking at on the left side.
Very nice.
We've got our front door there, and then on the far side, those 2 windows there, that's the uncle's bedroom. So he does have natural light that can come in there into his room. He can actually see out to the front porch, see who's there. And then that's the utility room window on the far side at the far end of that picture. If I remember correctly, that porch is about 7 or 8 feet deep. So you do have usable space underneath there. So if you do have furniture, you do have a rocker, rocking chairs, you still have plenty of space to put those on there and then still get around if you have multiple guests over, if you're sitting on that front porch using it.
Very nice.
Very nice.
I see our septic hooked up over here. Stub out. We got one of our AC systems. Maybe it just has the one AC. I didn't look.
It just has the one. And then one thing it's not shown on here, but we ended up doing on their home, power actually comes from the back left of the property. So it comes into that back corner, but we did run the wire all the way through and put the breaker box in the garage. So the breaker is still inside. But that's something we did on their home. So we did run the wires all the way through to the far side, even though the power didn't come in at the garage.
Okay.
Very nice.
Speaking of the garage, Doug has a question.
Sure.
He was curious if there's an option to not finish the walls and ceiling with drywall in the garage. He'd personally like to have access to the studs. Is there any downsides or trade-offs to having everything exposed like that?
Well, the first issue, you know what it is, Ross?
I was going to let you go ahead. I mean, as far as I know, well, as far as in pricing, when we do detached, it doesn't have the drywall and paint. But as it comes to insulation and other aspects, there's definitely some things there.
Yeah. So Doug, great question. And what it is on if the garage is within 3 feet of the home, or attached in this case, it must be sheetrocked for code. So the fire code, the building code requires that for fire purposes, that any garage within 3 feet of the home or obviously attached to the home must be sheetrocked. So it's not an option if it's attached. However, like Ross said, if you detach that garage, and we can get it, and usually when we detach garage, it's at least 10 feet away.
Mm-hmm. For drainage purposes. And
exactly. Yeah. We got drainage, the big one. So then,
drainage purposes.
Yeah, it would just be studs, rafters, exposed. So it'd be exactly how you're describing it. That's how we price it out. Because I'm with you, man. I want to know exactly where to hang my pegboard. All my tools are going to hang. Like I'm with you. I get it. What else? What other questions do we have, Dawn? Can you make us big? You do like Super Mario and make us large.
Oh, I can. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Andrew was asking if it was cheaper to do all brick on the house instead of siding.
No, it is not. It's more, I will say the bigger deciding factor will be your property, depending on restrictions, if it's in a community or if it's in a city and there's a masonry requirement and they don't count hardy board, which we use the James Hardy, which is a cement fiber board. That is I won't say cheaper, but it is a more cost-effective exterior. Your brick is less than stone. So if you wanted a masonry material that's not hardy, but you didn't want stone, you could definitely do brick cheaper than stone.
Yeah, and part of the additional cost, Andrea, to doing the brick on the back like Ross did for these folks is we are actually adding 5.5 inches of slab. So if you find a builder who's like, oh yeah, same price to do siding or brick, you might find out because your house could be getting 6 inches smaller because you have to have a 5.5 inch brick ledge to set that stone or brick on. You have to have a masonry ledge. So be sure you ask that. And that's the bulk of the cost when you upgrade from siding to brick, is that you're adding actual 5.5 inches of slab all the way across the house.
Oh, that's good to know. Clyde is asking, he noticed our post earlier this week that we have a couple models that are closed because of storm damage. He's curious if those had the PEX piping, and if so, did we learn anything to avoid future damage?
We did. And so, yes, Clyde, we had two that got damaged, the Hidalgo in San Marcos, which was built in 2001. So it is 20th birthday this year.
Yay! Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Hidalgo. Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Might be your last.
Anyway, it did not have PEX. So we were not using PEX at the time in that home. But actually, that's not what leaked. It was actually a water heater issue because we don't have the water heaters hooked up to go down, but we had it hooked up to the supply. So anyway, that was that. And then the Wimberley was a little bit weirder one. We
keep in mind nobody lives in our models.
A heavy drip. We did a heavier drip. So all the salespeople, Ross and all those guys, did exactly what we asked them to do, which was leave faucets dripping, showers dripping, tubs dripping. What we didn't do a good job of was saying how much to drip them. So that one was more of a self-imposed flood on our part. So actually, it wasn't a freeze of any kind on the Wimberley one, ironically enough. The best laid plans, Clyde. They often go wrong. So.
Elizabeth is asking about garages and if they're insulated, and do we recommend insulating them?
So it's the common wall, right, Ross? The common wall to the house is insulated, but we do not insulate the exterior walls of the garages or the attic of the garage. There's not really a reason to insulate it. I would ordinarily say it doesn't get very cold in Texas. I don't. Sure, as I say that, it'll be 7 degrees next week like it was, but ordinarily it doesn't do you a whole lot of good to insulate it. Plus, it also it does give you a little bit of light storage above the garage. If you don't, it's easier to kind of store your Christmas decorations, lights, and that kind of stuff up in the garage if you don't insulate it. You're not crawling through all that.
Okay, that makes sense.
What kind of feedback you get, Ross?
Oddly enough, the one I'm working on right now. They're asking me to insulate 2 of the extra walls just to have them insulated.
There you go. And we sell insulated garage doors. So I mean, it's a thing.
So we can do it. It's not necessarily recommended or required. It's just more of a personal preference. Yeah. So I have one that is wanting to do that. So it's not how it has to be, but that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Jabo is asking about the cost of a detached garage, and does it include running any length of plumbing or power to the structure?
It does include power, Jabo. And by the way, thanks for coming. Welcome back. Glad to see you again. And it does include getting electricity out to it. It does not necessarily include any of the plumbing because there's not typically any plumbing inside the detached garage, or really an attached garage for that reason, other than maybe a hose bib on the back of an attached garage. But yeah, we are going to. Now, what it wouldn't, the base price wouldn't include if you wanted your electrical service in the detached garage. So in this house, like Ross was saying, they actually have their breaker box inside the garage, but that garage is attached. On it would the base price of a detached garage would not include having your entire service, because you may or may not have a breezeway to run that through. It may have to, the big water wires that's like that big around will have to go underground. So, but it does include like your lights and all that kind of garage door opener. All that would be powered in the garage.
Okay, great. Let's see. Joss is just saying thank you for the videos. Currently building with Tilson and having a great experience. Really likes her construction manager, Greg. So thanks so much for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Joss. Thanks for watching too.
And then Lupe has a question. She had signed a contract with one of our locations and had to cancel. She has had her house staked out and the land has been tested. She is going to be starting over, but is wondering if she can use a different office because she actually likes the Canyon model in Bryan. So Ross, what do you think?
Well, you can definitely come on by. As far as, I mean, the way I'm reading, as far as what your question is, I mean, right now, in some ways, you're going to be brand new again. I mean, as far as it's a brand new process, brand new start. So you come on by, and then we can go ahead. I mean, as far as Canyon's still being built, but we can walk through, kind of see the progress of where it's at. Definitely helps when we have an appointment right now, just to make sure there's no one working in there, make sure it's open to go through. But from what it is, I mean, right now you're in some ways brand new. Just come on in and we can talk about it.
Yeah, and it's a good question too, Lupe. I appreciate you asking it, and obviously you can work out of whatever office you're most comfortable with. my advice and I guess my only word of caution to that would be any of the kind of serendipitous conversations that took place with that other consultant. By that, I mean any, dialogue that took place. Obviously, a consultant at a different office would have no knowledge of that whatsoever. So what I wouldn't want to have happen is like, well, we talked about, such and such with so-and-so, and why don't, well, like Ross said very well, it's a new deal. Apart from the fact that, yes, it's staked out, and yes, we got the geotechnical done, if that's the case, that won't change. But any of those kind of little small detail conversations that took place before, it's best to start blank slate anyway, even if you went back to the original office. But to Ross's point, it's a new deal. So great question. And by the way, thank you for sticking it through and coming back. I'm glad you got your stuff worked out, and can't wait to see you again.
And let's see, Michael is asking, I have a well, but will need a septic system. What should I expect to spend on a complete install?
That's going to vary in your county, what type of soil, how big the house, because your county may require an aerobic system. You may still be allowed to do a conventional system. There's a few extra factors there that are really going to vary and change your cost potentially. I mean, I've seen septic systems for $3,500 up to $12,000 plus, depending on rock, soil, size of house. It can range. It just depends on where you're building.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, it depends very greatly on exactly where you're building. So if you get us a better idea of kind of what county you're building in, that would help us zero in. But yeah, like Ross said, it's very, very rare that you're able to do a conventional. You can still do a conventional. It's going to be a very rare occurrence. But for the most part, you're going to spend between $9,000 and $15,000, depending on if you're in kind of a more of a Gulf Coast, maybe North Texas type of area, or Central Texas. Like you said, in the hill country, they just cost more because there's big out of levels and there's rocks the size of your desk.
I know of one that was up in Possum Kingdom Lake, North Texas, where they drilled and hammered on rock for a week straight just to get the system in.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I mean, there was solid bedrock basically that they had to go through to some extent. So it was the time. So that one was not as cheap as some others that could. So,
yeah, great point.
Jabo has a follow-up on his power to detach garage question. Is there a limit on the distance covered by the base price? For example, only the first 50 feet is covered for a home. Is there a limit on how far we cover for the garage?
Yeah, I think it's 15 feet, Jabo. I think it's about 15 feet that we cover. And anything beyond that, we have to price it by the lineal foot.
Okay, great. And then Tracy is asking if we do geothermal.
No, we do not. I've had a customer do it before. It's been a while. I mean, it's been probably a decade or more, but it's just not something that most contractors are very familiar with. And when he's talking about geothermal, I'm sorry, Tracy, what she's talking about is using the earth to heat and cool the house. So the law is it's a constant temperature down there, right? So you run your supply lines, water lines all through there, and that's how you heat and cool your house. It's a kind of a heat pump type system, but no, it's not something that we get a lot of demand for and have a lot of expertise in.
Okay, makes sense. And then Patrick is asking about generator hookups or built-ins.
Why would you care, Patrick? What difference?
I know, such an odd question.
No, I appreciate you asking. The answer is yes, we can. We need to know very specifically what the generator brand is, and in most cases, that brand is going to have a specific kind of automatic transfer switch of some sort. Obviously, ideally, it's located somewhere near our electrical stub out, like where the breaker box is going to be. And ordinarily, it's easiest if that electrical is actually outside, because the electrical breaker boxes have knockouts in them. They have holes in the sides and the bottom. And that way the generator company can actually just knock out the side and connect the automatic transfer switch straight into the breaker box. And then also into where the utility company comes in with the meter. So the automatic transfer switch is a large device that it's reading power coming in from the utility company until it's not. And then it says, oh, hey, we've had a utility loss of power. We need to switch to generator power. So it cuts off the utility and cuts on to generator and sends a signal to the generator and says, hey, you need to start working now.
Okay.
So as long as that thing is located somewhere near the breaker box, pretty good.
And I would say with that as well, those panels can be 2 by 2, 3 by 3 feet. They can be huge. So as you plan for one, the more you're going to power on the house, the bigger that panel can be. So as you would talk with a salesperson and we get that model number, we need to make sure there's no windows by that. We need to make sure there's other things that aren't by it to make sure it'll fit. So that just, as we talk generator, I mean, there's some extra pieces of that do come into play.
Yeah. So we absolutely can and have done it.
All right. Awesome. I'm going to say, let's go ahead and continue with the presentation, and then we'll stop for questions.
Yes,
later on.
Yes.
Just want to make sure we get through. And
great questions, guys. Keep asking the questions. Dawn is very good about keeping this thing going. If it were me, we'd be here for 6 hours. So.
And full disclosure, before we get to interior pictures, my team actually did add some furniture into these pictures. So if the Thomasons are watching and they're like, that's not our furniture, it's not. Just some of the spaces in this house, it's easier to envision with furniture. So we went ahead and added some in.
Thank you for the disclaimer. And when she says her team moved furniture, she means they moved furniture.
Digitally we put in furniture.
Back to what Ross said before I get off this one, when you talk about like the generator and transfer switch and stuff, a big, long, solid brick or siding wall is optimal because, like he said, there are multiple devices that have to go on there typically, and they're pretty big pieces of equipment. And you do want to have them outside accessible for the generator company typically to come in and maintain them too. So that's something to think about. There's big old fuses in them, and I got to know mine very, very well last week. I know all the parts and pieces and relays and fuses and breakers in my generator transfer switch. All right. Without further ado, we forgot the back of the house.
We still have the back of the house.
So like we did at the beginning, we put brick all the way across the road. Usually that would have been all siding. And then where you see that fireplace, there would have been an extra window there, but we took it off, put the fireplace there. It is an exterior fireplace, so we have that bump out for that way. The fireplace took up less space in the family room because it bumped out the back of the wall. And of course we have the chimney going up. So it is a wood burning fireplace that we did put into the home.
Awesome. Brings back memories. All right, walk us inside. This is beautiful.
So as far as the inside, so the big difference here is really going to be after you come in the foyer, the lights that are there, the windows, the door, that is what to expect with the Preston, that hanging drop down foyer fixture. But what really is different is the left and right sides where we have those two different doors. Usually on the left, as we're looking at it this way, you'd have more of a sheetrock opening going to that formal dining room. Well, that's now where we've got Uncle's room. So that is more of a privacy door with more walls. So he's got his own bedroom. Perfect. But like we talked about earlier, for him to come in and out if he's off on the front porch, we don't want him to walk all the way through the kitchen breakfast area to get back to his room. We created those two access points. Over at the study library, instead of having a double door, or if it was a double door, we made it a singular door because we wanted more space because he's going to have a big corner desk that he's going to put in that front corner. So we wanted a little extra wall space there for his big desk to fit before getting in front of those windows. So we did a singular door instead of a double door. That little recessed niche there is part of that family room design. We did bring it forward a little bit. It can be a little deeper depending on what we do. But for that bookcase, we shrunk it. We made it more of just a little recess instead of a bigger depth. But it does actually come with a granite, or in this case, quartz ledge. Throughout the house, we ended up doing a quartz instead of a granite. So all the countertops we'll see will be a quartz through the pictures. But that is a little note as far as detail that those niches will have a granite countertop initially there.
Yeah.
So looking at our kitchen here, so this is the breakfast, or now the singular dining area. As far as the size and dimensions, this is what is designed in the Preston. We did, like I said, so as far as that fridge is kind of hiding where we would turn to go into that hallway to the utility room. The fridge is in very close to the same spot it usually is at. We didn't really move much of it, but it's the cabinets to this side of the fridge that we moved over to create that new access and close in the old one. So those upper and lower cabinets that are a little bit taller as well were what was in the original kitchen design. So we kept all the same amount, we just reused them. Now in this case, we did end up doing a gray painted cabinet throughout the whole kitchen, kind of going with their wall color scheme and kind of tying it all together. And over here where we've got that little built-in desk, that is already there. That is part of the breakfast room design. So you have drawers to the left and right. You got a drawer right underneath. You do have that little mail slot shelf divider up above. That is part of that Preston design that comes with the home. So that is all there. The note to make, and we'll see a better picture of it in just a second, is there are two different counter heights. That vanity desk height is only about 30 inches. That's going to sit a little bit better with most chairs. Your kitchen cabinets are taller. They're a 36-inch height. So if you're standing up to it, it's closer to your hip width as far as you're not leaning down as far to use or as you're prepping or getting things ready to cook. Yeah. But that would be what you would see initially. That's how we designed it.
And they're using this as the one large eating area, right? Like it's really, really big. I mean, it's almost 16 feet long. So it's plenty big for, we've got a small breakfast table in here, but it's plenty big, guys. I can tell you for an 8 or 10 person, like formal dining table, if you wanted to do something like that. But truly you can get a country kitchen. Plus you got a bar top here that you can pull 3 or 4 bar stools up to and hang out there. So.
So kind of the other view, we're looking at the other side now, we're looking at from the kitchen sink looking out. We ended up doing a single tub sink, one of those options and choices you could choose. So no divider in between, it's just one big tub. The dishwasher is there located in the island. Also in there is a disposal in that sink too. That's all in your plumbing underneath that sink. We do have a drawer on the left. We do have a little small skinny drawer on the right. We did end up doing a little bit of a subway tile backsplash all in the kitchen. So even in that little raised bar top ledge, that is considered backsplash there. So matching with the back wall of the kitchen, we have that subway tile running across.
Very nice.
So different look at that breakfast nook or dining nook where you've got the desk built in, and then where we move those cabinets from one wall to the other wall of the fridge. You've got it, like I said, that 6-inch different in height. But as far as the uppers, those all lined up and matched across. It's just where you have that raised kind of letter mail slot. Those are a little bit taller, but then we've got all the shelves inside the cabinets are adjustable. They're an adjustable shelf. And then as you see there with the little desk space, we actually have just more drawers. So we can do drawer bases. We can do drawers and shelves. You can kind of mix and match this depending on what you're wanting to have in the home.
It's a pretty cabinet, Ross. That's really nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Taking a look at the family room, we can kind of see that same outside brick that was inside is now inside at the fireplace. We did a more rough natural stain to that cedar mantle. We got our wood fireplace there, and we did raise that hearth and bring it out just so you got a little sitting ledge right there outside the fireplace. But it does go from the floor all the way to that ceiling, which is a 10-foot ceiling there in the family room. Great.
Just another shot of that.
So we resized those 2 windows, and we do have our walkout door to the back porch there. We opted to leave carpet in the family room. There is a grandbaby that lives just 150 feet, 200 feet in front of them, and when he comes over, they want to have something soft to play on the floor. So if they're playing on the ground, they've got something soft to sit on. So
nice.
It's cool.
So here's some of those built. So this is now looking at the library study. So we did floor to ceiling, or almost floor to ceiling, bookcases. We did all bookcase. Those are adjustable shelves in there. So depending on how tall or how you need those books to be, those do change. We opted for a different color here. We went a little more natural, a little more lighter. We didn't go with the gray painted here, keeping it more kind of that library wood looking feel and wood look to it. Also here, like I mentioned earlier, there are 2 different ceilings throughout this whole space. The main part of the room here is 9 foot. This more to the right side. It does drop and go to 8 foot to the left, just based on the way the Preston is initially designed. That bedroom too, that's a little bit farther over, does have an 8-foot ceiling initially. We didn't want to raise the plate and change it all up, so we left it the same. So that's why we do have a little bit of 2 different heights. Somebody's giving it some character as well, but we did just take out that wall in the middle and open all that up just so he's got a bigger singular room for his library and study.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Here's that far guest bathroom 2, where it does come with those 2 sinks already in there. It does have that upper cabinet up above. We also stayed more with that lighter natural wood stain over here, just because it was closer to that library on that far side of the house, keeping it more all together. Right there where he's got his pointer, we took out the door, so that's just open. Usually there'd be a door separating the toilet and the tub shower. We got rid of it. We opened it up just so it's a little more accessible. That's what they wanted.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
The master bedroom here, it does come with the windows you see. So you have two nice large windows at the back and you have one at the other corner. So you got natural light coming in from 2 different walls, 3 different windows. In that master bedroom, you do have a sloped and raised ceiling. So it does slope from 3 sides and does get taller throughout the middle. And that does carry on into the master bathroom. So it goes from an 8 foot at the end to, I believe, a 9 or 10 foot in the middle, or 9.5 foot. So it does get taller. So that room does get to feel a little bit bigger just with that height that it automatically creates. But it's a very good size room for as far as depending on what furniture, your bedroom suite, depending on what you'd have in there, you're going to have lots of space for bed, furniture, whatever you may need in there.
Yeah, it's like 18 foot, almost 19 feet
wide, I think.
Yeah, it's nice. I think it's 1810 by 13.4 or something like that. It's
Nice.
large room.
So here we took some of the pictures from the master bathroom in just different sections. So on the left, we've got our master bathroom vanity. We've got the double split sink. We have the knee space in between. We have a tall linen hamper cabinet on the far right side. So that upper part of that cabinet does have built-in shelves. The lower half is just an open hamper, where if you have a hamper or something, you just got that style already built into the cabinet. In the middle, we have our soaking tub that does come in part of that plan. The neat thing with the soaking tubs and how we're doing it now with that cabinet front is those cabinet doors open. You can get to your plumbing. You don't have to go through tile. You don't have to take things off to get to it. You can actually get to that if you ever needed to work on it or adjust it or deal with it. So
Very nice.
though that is all functioning.
No one ever has to work on their plumbing. That's not a thing.
Never, not recently.
They don't ever need to open cabinets to keep it warm. Like it's not a thing.
This is craziness.
And
Crazy
then
talk.
lastly, in the home here, we do have our walk-in shower, that semi-frameless shower with the glass. And it does rest on in this case, a quartz edge. So it does have a little bit of a catch there as far as kind of just pulling it all together there in the bathroom. And in the main part of the bathroom, you do have that taller ceiling carrying on from the bedroom. You can kind of see it there at the shower where it's still angling up to keep that taller ceiling throughout the main part of the bathroom.
Nice.
Much fancier than my Preston, I can tell you that. We were using the old acrylic pans and no semi-frameless. No, this is really beautiful. It's a huge bathroom. It's really
Very nice.
You know, one of the neatest parts about this is that on the other side of this wall is 2 water heaters, like 4 inches away. So you get hot water, immediately in the shower. Just speaking from experience.
Very nice.
All right. Let's go on to the next. Oh, look.
That's it.
We're just in time. I was going to say, maybe we should stop for questions. Maybe we should
I guess we will.
Would this be a good place to stop for questions? Should we do that?
Yes. So we have a very long question from Bass. He is actually, they're about to be buying land in Greenville. We've already started working with Nydia. We know Nydia very well. Looking to start building in June. They already know that they're going to need a septic system. They're looking at the Shiloh. And so I know we sent you a link to kind of our walkthrough of that we have. But he's asking, he's going to be working from home and wants to know if doubling the insulation in the office will work as soundproofing.
Okay. It will help. By the way, if you wonder what those sounds are, our Bryan Design Center is across the street from the Bryan Municipal Airport. So what you're hearing is a plane that's probably a couple hundred feet above Ross's office. So to answer your question on Dawn, I think now's the time for.
It's time for Eric's gonna draw. Yay!
Eric, terrible pictures.
It's our favorite segment. Eric draws.
Our favorite segment. Yep. Time where we do drawings. So we have drawings that we're going to do. The answer to your question is insulation will help a little. Okay, but it doesn't do a lot for sound deadening. There is actual sound deadening board that might help better. We can look into that. One thing you might consider doing is going to be what I would call a staggered stud wall. I don't know if that's a technical term or not. I'm sure Justin Ordino would have a fit if he heard me say that out loud. But basically, I'll draw one example. So this will be kind of an overhead view of a typical 4-inch wall, interior wall. So overhead, We have, this is the toe plate, and each of these is a stud. Okay, and in between all those, if you were to insulate, which you could put insulation in there, and that will help a little. So we would put insulation in all of those cavities between those studs that are on 16-inch centers. The problem is, as sound waves start to travel from this room, they're going to hit the stud, and they're still going to go through wood, because wood's really not a very good insulator.
Okay.
If you're genuinely worried about tremendous sound deadening, what you can do instead, you lose about 2 to 3 inches in one of the rooms, which is probably not a huge deal, is you do a 6-inch thick wall. Again, doesn't do anything for energy efficiency necessarily, but you do a 6-inch wall, and you still use 2x4s, but they would be staggered. I know the anticipation is probably killing you guys.
I know, we're waiting. We're anxiously waiting.
The likes of which you've never seen. So you would do a 6-inch wall, and you would stagger the studs, and then you would insulate between there. This is kind of a way to do that, and then you're kind of terminating that space. You're creating airspace between where the studs touch those other walls. So the studs aren't touching both walls. They're still every 16 inches, so structurally you're good. 2x6 top plate, 2x6 bottom plate, but then you can do a better job of deadening the sound. Man, that was a great picture.
That was amazing.
That's a good one.
Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. One of these days, I'll actually bring a Sharpie upstairs, and it'll be maybe if someone has a special large marker brand they like to see particular color for Eric's drawings, let me know, and I'll procure that as long as I can get purchasing to approve it.
There you
Please
go.
remember, please, can I have a marker?
We'll take it out of the marketing budget. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, thank you. Kimberly is asking about the average cost of the built-in generators.
Ooh, what were they week before last, or what are they this week? So
Wait till summer.
Well, don't do that because it's hurricane season.
Oh no. Okay, depending on which area you are in the state, wait till summer.
There's no winning.
There isn't.
Okay, so generators, if you're talking like a whole house generator, 20 kW, 22 kW, I think 24 is probably the biggest you can go before you have to get water cooled. Not that I've researched this type of stuff before, but you're looking at somewhere in the $15,000 to $20,000 range for all in, completely installed, done, good to go, and it'll depend on fuel as well. So if you're where your building has natural gas, then I would recommend getting a natural gas generator. You're going to be good to go there. If where your building is, you don't have gas, so your alternative would be to have propane. So you put a propane tank in. Just know that you only have a finite amount of that propane, whatever your tank holds. So if it's a 500-gallon tank, when they fill them up, if I'm right, Ross, I remember right, they'll only fill them up 80%. So you're only going to get about 400 gallons in a 500-gallon tank.
I mean, it's out in the sun and it's not buried, which you're going to have. So it's going to
gotta leave room for expansion.
Yep. So that's something to consider if you want to have a separate tank for your generator, or just get a bigger propane tank. And then the third alternative would be a diesel generator. So it has its own dedicated diesel tank, and so those are gonna obviously price differently. The propane one and the natural gas one will be about the same price. It's just a matter of how much fuel you're going to have. The diesel one will be a different level.
Okay.
But there's different ways to tackle that, and we can help you navigate that.
Okay. Elizabeth has a little bit of a celebration that she is signing with Eric and Katie tomorrow for her final floor plan and color selections that she chose for San Gabriel. So yay, you're almost there.
He's my second favorite Eric in the whole company.
Mine too. Don't tell him.
Don't worry, he's got plenty of people he's the favorite.
Jackie is asking about doing double doors for your entry for the exterior. She hasn't seen on any of the models. It's wondering if that's possible for us to do.
Double entry doors on a house?
I've seen it. I mean, I've staked out a few. I have yet to personally design one with that. It is possible. It can be done. I will say the biggest thing to keep in mind is how wide that foyer gets. What's it going to do to the rooms to the left and right, depending on what your purpose is for the whole home. Because you have that space for both the doors. If both those doors are 3 foot wide, you need at least 6 foot for the doors plus any side lights or any other space. So you're going to have a wide foyer which is there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what else is that going to impact to create that space? So that's more of the, I would say, the reasoning behind, yes, we can do it, but is it more from a functioning? Is it more from an aesthetic? That'd be more of why, as we would design it, what we would get into.
Okay, that makes sense. Good things to think about. Robert is sharing that he is currently building the Preston as a 5-bedroom, 3-bath in Calhoun County, and they just poured his foundation. So super excited.
Right. Beat the weather. Awesome.
A friend over on YouTube is asking, can we design our home like the LaSalle model, even if it's a different, let's say, smaller home?
What do you think, Ross?
It can be done. I don't know if I mean, sometimes shrinking can work. Sometimes it maybe we find something that has very close aspects that's easier. It may not be a LaSalle. It may be a Fayetteville or something that's kind of got a similar layout. And we just may need to create a space for that guest suite, or depending on what features of LaSalle you're looking at, or what are the most important to you. There could be, we could stay with the LaSalle and make it work, or there could be alternate options. So that's what we're here for, to help design. So once we meet with you, we look at it. What do you like about the LaSalle? What do we need to keep in as we design your home?
Okay, makes sense. Michael is asking on the Preston, could we push the kitchen breakfast exterior wall to make that flush with the living room, thus replacing the porch and turning it into livable space?
I have just done this recently on one of my other ones that's going to be in Robertson County. We're in the plan review phase and things like that, but we actually did that. We actually added more porch, but we did initially convert that porch area that's there to living in we just made the breakfast dining area larger.
Okay.
So we can move all that existing porch into living. And then in their case, we actually added more back porch going farther across, but that's what they wanted. But yes, that is completely doable. That's already part of the foundation. So it's just converting porch to living. And then it would just be if you wanted any other extra back porch or not. We'd still probably have a back door there just to have that secondary access point out. You have a front door and a back door, but there doesn't necessarily have to have a porch there. I mean, it would depend on what you want to design with it.
Okay, perfect. Andrea is asking, if I have my own floor plan, is there any way I can scale it down to fit into the footprint of one of your models? For example, a LaSalle or the Preston?
Pretty specific. Yeah, we need to see the floor plan, obviously, to see. But yeah, there's a chance. If it's something similar like to those, then it's clearly in our wheelhouse. We just need to see. I mean, it doesn't have to fit our floor plan necessarily. It just really needs to. We would use a house similar in size to start pricing it out. Measure square footage, measure of living area, of covered porch, of garage, ceiling heights. Then we move on to like lineal feet of cabinetry, light fixtures, interior doors, exterior doors, and just kind of. Charge for things that aren't there and credit things that are, credit things that aren't there and charge for things that are there. But yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Okay, perfect. Rebecca's asking if it's possible to cathedral ceiling the living room through to a larger patio, kind of similar to how the LaSalle is.
I mean, on the Preston, yes. The thing is, with how far the family room is over from the master bedroom, you can easily do it. Just based on, you just need to have however deep of a porch you're going to come out. The issue would be, like, for instance, on other plans, if that master bedroom was right next to that family room, you have to go past the master bedroom to get the vault all the way through if you're trying to do something similar to the LaSalle. So with the Preston, it's actually in a good spot to do that. It's just how deep of a porch do you want to do that cathedral ceiling all the way out to the patio? But it could be done.
Perfect. Let's see. Rocky is sharing that he's currently building the Preston B at Richland Chambers Lake, working with Brandy from Waxahachie to redesign the home for that lakefront view. Chance is their builder and having a great experience. Thank you for sharing. We'll pass on
Rocky.
your kind words. Rebecca is asking about the final length of the study and what's the square footage of that room now?
I think I looked real quick, Rob. I pulled up the K1. It's like 25 feet long. Does that sound probably close to right?
I mean, I'm looking at the rough old Preston C like floor plan you would see at home. So 11.4 plus 13.4 is 24.8, plus you took out the 4-inch wall in the middle. So yeah, it's about 25 feet long wall to wall. And then we did, like I said, straighten out. We did shrink bedroom 2 just a bit for that bookcase and straighten it up. But I mean, overall square footage, you're probably, I'd say, what, close to 300-ish or so, something like that. A little, maybe even over.
The size of the living room, maybe bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's a good big space. Andrew is asking if we will build in Orange County again in the future. His wife and him are very interested in building with our company.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks for asking. And obviously, you know, it pains us. It's a place that we can't reach real well. It is. This is a weird time. Demand is insane right now, all over the country, and especially in Texas, because of the amount of land that we have. People being able to work from home, school districts mattering a little bit less because people have kids doing remote or maybe like homeschool. So with that demand comes other struggles, and that is trade base, labor base. And so, you know, what we don't want to do is get out to a place where we're stretched too thin to execute well, make the customers happy, put trades in places that they're not comfortable working as far as from just a distance standpoint, and put someone, you know, we never ever want to deliberately put someone in a position to not have a great experience. And so that's really what that boils down to. There's nothing crazy about Orange County. There's nothing weird about Orange County. It's just further than we have a comfortable, well executing trade base to be able to get out to, and we don't want to set them and thereby a customer up for anything less than a great experience. So that's really what that comes down to. Is that now we do have plans, yes, in the next 24 months or so to build a strategy around getting to those places, building a trade base up. It's going to come down to demand. I mean, you know, there's a lot of those trades have come to the bigger areas because there's so much work to be had. So they're really, really close to those major metropolitan areas and kind of out from, you know, maybe 50, 60 miles out from those metropolitan areas. So it's made it really challenging to get a good, reliable, well executing trade base. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay. So Shelly is asking about how we vent a water heater, specifically a gas water heater closet, if it's located within a utility room.
Yep, straight up. It's got a vent pipe just exactly like the furnace does up in the attic. So it's got usually a 2-chamber flue pipe that goes out the attic, and it vents just like a furnace would up in an attic or anything else. It vents all the way out.
Okay, makes sense.
Like a big exhaust pipe that goes vertical.
All right. Doug is asking about the kitchen area. Could the wall with the windows be pushed back? Yes. Yes, same thing. We can push that wall back. So that
I will say you don't need it for a table. I know it looks deceiving when you're looking overhead at the floor plan. I will tell you, having lived in this home without doing that, we never felt like, oh my gosh, we need 5 more feet of space. Like, never felt that way. And if we did, we just kicked the kids outside. But it didn't happen. Like, it's a little bit deceiving. If I did anything over again, I'd make the porch bigger than I did. I made it about 8 or 10 feet deep. Okay. I would make it maybe 13. I'd probably go all the way back to the end of the master bedroom.
I think the base porch is about 5 feet deep at the most. It's not the largest, but I mean, it is already there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then one final question from Andrea. Do any of your lenders do land loans as well? And if so, could I do that with the Easy Buy program?
Who wants to take it?
I mean, as far as I would say, CMG and AMCAP that we both work with, they are more strictly a mortgage loan. Now, as far as I do know, there have been some customers in the past with some other outsiders we have worked with that they did have the land loan with them, but normally the land loan is separate, but we can include the land loan at the end at closing as part of a lot payoff to wrap it all into one payment. But our 2 preferred lenders are strictly going to be for the home.
Yeah, and basically the way it would work, Andrea, is you would still need to have the 10% equity in the total value. So, for instance, if the land is $75,000 and the house is $325,000, that's a total value of $400,000, and so you would need to have $40,000 paid into that land up front. And so, in a lot of cases like that, they just pay the $40,000 on the land, have a land balance through a bank, Prosperity Bank or Capital Farm Credit, depending on the rural property that you're buying, local bank or credit union, and then like Ross said, we'll just roll that $35,000 balance in that example into that final home loan. So instead of $325 on the home loan, it'd be like $360 on the home loan, which would be the $325 for the house plus the $35,000 for the balance on the land. I hope those numbers are right because I just dreamed that again.
All right. We'll fact check you after.
Not the fact checkers.
And that is all of our questions for today.
Awesome. So I see there's one more from Shelley. How do you vent the fresh air for the gas water heater? And by the way, Shelley, thank you for not calling it a hot water heater. You are my favorite post of the day. It is, in fact, a water heater. If the water were already hot, you would need a water heater. Anyway, home builder pet peeves. They actually, in that closet, they actually have to have they have like little air ducts. So it's a great question, but we do have to give them a supply of air, and the door itself is weather stripped. So the door that goes to a gas water heater is a weather stripped door if it's in a utility room like that. Now those are in the garage, in which case they don't have to be. So, but if it's in a utility room, yes, it has to be in its own combustible airspace, as they say, which is big fancy words for it has to be a weather stripped closet that's got its own supply.
All right.
And it vents out the top.
Okay, makes sense.
All right. Well, first of all, hey Ross, thanks for joining us, man. I know y'all are busy there. You got a brand new model home that we're building that we're very excited about. It'll be open soon. So we're stoked about the Canyon. Thanks for coming on today. Dawn, thank you for putting this together, as always.
Of course. Thank you for doing this.
You all for watching us. We really, really appreciate it. You can reach out on all of our various medias. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have YouTube. We have a website that's fantastic. That's got a lot of information, a lot of virtual tours, a lot of blogs to read. Customer testimonials to look at. Of course, we have 11 design centers open 7 days a week. We'd love for you to set up an appointment, come out and talk to us, tour the model homes. And until then, we genuinely hope to make you part of the Tilson family. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.